Carl Sterling. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing really well, man. It's great to see you. How are you?
When was the last time we actually, because you interviewed me, was
Yeah.
it a decade ago?
Well, it's not far from that. I think it's probably about 8 years.
8 years. And it was such an honor to have you interview me then. And then I saw you transform into like this legendary Parkinson specialist over the past 8 years, where not only you're making an impact on people's lives throughout the country, because how many followers do you have now on how many
Oh, I
people
don't
following
know,
you now?
300 something thousand.
Yeah. And so you
Yeah.
went from at that time zero. I might have been one of your first interviews. So
Yeah.
I'll take full credit for the 300,000.
Yeah, well, we I had to start, what was really cool is I met you early on. I mean, I was into this business a few years at that point, but then, I met Perry through through him. I met you.
Yes.
And then I was at your place for a couple different workshops. I don't think I taught there, but I did one of Emily's workshops there. Then I ended up teaching for her for a few years around
Wow.
Europe and North America, and then my own thing launched. And I was at
Who's
Perry's
who's
Prom.
Emily? Who's Emily for the audience?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Dr. Emily Splickle.
And what does she do?
Well,
Give her a shout out.
okay, so Emily is in my very top handful of mentors who's really brought me along, along with Perry and you and a few others who've taught me so much. So Emily's a podiatrist who was based in New York City at the time. She has a lot of different courses. The ones that I ended up, well, taking all of her courses right after I interviewed her, and then I ended up teaching for her. I didn't think I would. She asked me to, and I said, no way. But then I did. I finally did because it's really very, for me at the time, especially challenging information to learn well enough to teach. But I did that for a lot of workshops. And Emily has written like the barefoot training specialist, barefoot training specialist level one, level two. There might be a level three. I'm not sure. She moved to Arizona, has the Naboso technology, which we use here and all over the world. When I travel, I bring it with me. So yeah, big shout out to her.
And Perry, who's Perry?
Perry Nicholson,
Yeah.
the doctor, Dr. Perry Nicholson. I just saw him a couple weeks ago, and it's like I hadn't seen him in a long time, and it's like seeing you. I feel like a brother who we're just picking up where we left
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is well, Cairo was his original thing, but he's the lymphatic mojo guy now.
And Vegas Nerve now too. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
to a different level.
I
Eh,
learned so much from him about so many different things. And
Yeah.
I remember going to that Qigong thing with you. Remember that? It was at some community center or a church or something.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've shared, yeah, and the Qigong or Qigong work is extremely, and it's funny is I did a video based on Perry's work, his top
Mhm.
six movements for like the lymphatic drainage. And I
Mhm.
just applied the Qigong principles and concepts to it. And I'm getting great clinical outcomes with it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's something I need to come and spend some time with you and hire you to teach me more because there's so much to learn. You've got so much going on in that arena of I
Dude,
is it safe to say like Eastern medicine?
yeah,
Sort of, but it's your own thing.
but everything I teach is on YouTube. Like nobody has to learn from. They just had. I don't. I give it away for free, dude. Just go on my YouTube channel and check out like qigong tapping for lymphatics, and you'll see it.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
Well,
enough about me. I want to hear like you've transcended Parkinson's right now. So um it's I know it's very dear to you, right? So give a background of why you became like a Parkinson's specialist.
super short story, a long story made short. Drummer, 35 years, started when I was 14, went through I was 47. I weighed about 300 pounds. I had health problems. My doctor said, you better change. I did. Hired a trainer, went into debt. Best debt I ever had because I lost 70 pounds. And it said, whoa, man, I think I can help people. So I'll be a trainer. So another friend, Dr. Brent Brookbush, one of my best friends, told me, if you don't do NASM, I'll kill you. So I
I
did
love
that
his
one.
work too. Brent's work is phenomenal
Oh
too.
my God,
Yeah,
he's amazing.
yeah.
So, anyways, he said, do that or I'll kill you. So I said, okay, I'll do that one. And then after doing that and training people for about a year, I decided to go back to school, nutrition. And my first semester in school, though, like in 2012 in the fall, I think it was 11 or 12, I went back to Syracuse. And Professor Jerry Evensky came to me and said, I know you're a trainer. Can you help me? I'm losing muscle mass. And my doctor says, especially because of my Parkinson's, I need to
Oh,
build muscle and improve my stability, balance, mobility, and agility. And how I got enough knowledge to do anything with him the following week is another long story. But the bottom line, that was the launch pad for this. And
wow.
having OCD tendencies, I had to go total geek nerd out down that road, and I never looked back, because this the things we do to help that population really apply to all people, because we all have a nervous system, we all have a brain, I think, and
Some of
muscles
us
and
more than
skeletal,
others.
right? Yeah. But the concepts really apply for all humans. And of course, everyone, we individualize based on their issues or problems or challenges and their goals. But conceptually, we're going in with the same interventions, and we
Mhm.
individualize as needed. But that's how it started. And then, I've been really lucky, man. I've been all over the world now many times. I'm going to Phoenix tomorrow too. It's going to be nice and warm there. I'm
Oh.
going to be teaching, but it's okay. I'll get a day of sun
Now,
or warmth.
have you found this? And this is what I love this question with people that have been doing this for such a long period of time. Like you've had an impact on probably thousands of people's lives by now, right? Have you found that simplicity is key? Like you just said, everybody has a nervous system, everybody has a brain. You have
Yeah.
maybe 3 to 5 different movement patterns that you do for everybody, but then you tweak it, right? Depending
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
person, right? Have you found that as well with your work?
That's a really good point, Evan, because the answer is yes. It's a resounding yes. I mean, you can geek out and get real specific, which I do because I like to do that. I want to know all the reasons why this, why that, why not this, why not that. But when you back it all the way out from the higher view, 40,000-foot view, or whatever view you're looking at, a broader perspective, it does always come down to just a few basic, simple concepts. You go into each one, just a handful, you individualize, and it's really simple. It doesn't mean it's easy.
No, it's
Simple
not.
doesn't necessarily mean easy. A step up to balance might be a real challenge for some, while it's not for others, but it's simple. Step up, balance. Is it easy? Well, it depends. So, yeah, it is really simple usually.
And I think we were messaging back and forth, and you were talking about VO2 max and its relationship to Parkinson's. Take a dive into that, and then after that, if you could go into Skelly behind you, your best friend in the corner to your upper right,
Yeah,
I believe. I'd love to learn more about how VO2 max is affecting, or how it can influence a Parkinson patient.
absolutely. Really, really, really interesting. So, using some notes here. If anyone wants these, they're welcome. Just, go to Carl Sterling. That's Carl with a K, carlsterling.com. Shoot me a text on my phone or an email, and I'll send you this slideshow, because I used this for a thing in London that I did a few months ago. So it's called The Importance of a Good VO2 Resting Metabolic Analysis Score and VO2 Max Score in relation to health span and longevity. Now, also in this, though, has to do with muscle fibers, muscle mass, and the relevance of muscle mass in correlation with mobility, stability, balance, quality of life, longevity. Okay, so we get into looking at VO2 analytics. What is it? Well, first of all, we have this oxygen volume of oxygen that we intake with every breath. And basically, what we're measuring with a resting analysis metabolically, volume oxygen, which hence the VO2 is oxygen, or a moving VO2, like a max VO2 when you're really pushing yourself moving. In either situation, whether it's resting or moving, we're looking at the body's ability to exchange oxygen for energy effectively. And the cool thing about it is it's not just the body itself. There's like your muscles, how are they responding? Your lungs, your heart, even your brain, because it can measure through your breathing patterns how well you are able to process cognitively process information. So I can go real nerdy down that road, and I will just a little bit in a minute. But if we back it out, one thing we know is that we want to have a good oxygen exchange for energy in our body, because that means we'll move with less effort and more efficiency. If you're really struggling to move, and it has to do with an oxygen, let's say, insufficient ability or less than optimal ability to exchange oxygen for energy, you'll be winded, you'll be out of breath, you might be fatigued muscularly and otherwise, and be tired. So we got to condition ourselves, not just cardiovascularly, but muscularly as well. So like all these things, everything, like Perry says, the body doesn't label anything. We label stuff. Yep, we got all these different systems, but they all work together. And if one doesn't work optimally, all the rest by default come down. It may be immeasurable or it may be measurable. So one thing we know is this, research from like Dr. Peter Attia and some others, he seems to be a pretty cool guy. We know that a VO2 max score, let's say a good VO2 max score, is the single best indicator of your overall state of health currently and a predictor of your longevity. Whoa, so cool.
Massive. His work is phenomenal. I love his work.
Yeah, he's really putting out just
With,
he and
with that being
Andrew
said,
Huberman.
yeah, Andrew, do you use his zone 2 concept with your patients? Is that where we're heading?
Oh, 100%.
Okay. So explain what zone 2 cardio is and the benefits on VO2. I'd love to hear about that.
Sure. Actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to interject something else first that I just want
Definitely.
people to know this really super highly relevant statistic. Okay. So if you bring your VO2 max from a low, let's say bottom 25th percentile score, to below average, you're going to associate with a 50% reduction in all-cause mortality. And when you go from
50?
low to 50,
Wow.
50, and if you go from below average to above average, not even high, you go in the 50 to 70. Okay, the all-cause mortality risk reduction is closer to 70%. So it
Let's
does
unpack
correlate with longevity and quality of life.
let's unpack that for a second. So
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is just by us walking, um, there's something
Wow,
to
what a
this,
simple concept.
there's something to this 10,000 steps per day, right?
Oh yeah,
And
totally, man.
just by us walking,
Yeah.
and be able to maybe breathe only from our nose, so we don't go into an anaerobic capacity or anaerobic threshold, we're improving our VO2 max, which
Yeah.
hence will improve our longevity by 50 to 75%. Is that
50 to 70%. Yeah.
50 to 70%?
I mean, I think it was Atia, somebody said, we got, first of all, if you look at lifespan, that's one thing. That's like how long you live. Henry Kissinger just passed away. He was 100. I don't know what his quality of life was the past few years, but other people live to 100. Some live for 10, 5, 10, 15, 20 years bedridden. But then you also have and some don't, right? Then you just drop dead at 100 and, whatever. That's what we want, is to live long and healthy and die quickly. I think that's probably the goal for most of us, rather than have some kind of, God rest his soul, my father, who was bedridden for 6 years and not too mobile for a few years before that. I mean, he did not have a good lifespan in the last few. Health span was different than his lifespan. His health span lasted maybe 75 years and the lifespan was 84 years. So we want to have a good health span within the lifespan, and a good VO2 max going to help us a lot. These training zones, though, like when we measure with our device here we use, which is really freaking cool, we know that we can measure at
What's the
rest.
device? Give your device a plug. What's the device you use?
Oh yeah. Just let me just grab it here. 1 second. Yeah, I didn't know if that was cool, but if it's cool to do, then yes, absolutely. We use the Pinoy services. I don't have the little adapter here, but Pinoy services has clinical grade metabolic analyzer. Okay, so we've got okay, here we go.
All
There's the
right.
one I just used, and here's the device. This is I mean, this is, really, really, first of all, clinical grade breath analyzer that hooks into the mask. So we do a resting test, get your through breath. We can measure things like, oh man, your resting metabolic rate, your fat burn efficiency, your metabolic fitness, your heart health, your lung health, your cognition in relation to breathing, and your posture, breathing in relation to posture. You know that if you even hyperventilate, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That could be done at rest, right? This is not the VO2 max, right? This
Correct.
is assessing. So what are the parameters again that just by assessing VO2 at rest, you said resting metabolic rate, fat burning,
metabolic rate, fat burn efficiency, metabolic fitness, heart health, lung health, cognition in relation to breathing, because a lot of us hyperventilate just a little bit when we breathe. So you don't even know it, but the more you hyperventilate, the more is drawn away from your brain and towards your body, into your body. So less oxygen to the brain means less processor, like, your processor not processing at optimal speed because it doesn't have enough oxygen. Now that's the same thing when we're moving.
Fascinating. So with that being said, how long is the assessment? How long does it take to do the VO2?
That's a 10-minute deal. 12
just
minutes
sit there.
max.
So you just
Yeah,
sit
10
there.
minutes. There's like 3-4 minutes of prep time.
Why aren't
Get
I
the
doing
mask
that?
on.
Why don't I do that in my Chinese medical practice?
Oh, I gotta hook you up.
Why don't I like that? Like whoever's watching
Oh,
this,
in a medical practice?
in my Chinese medicine practice, like we do nutrition consulting with every patient who walks in. Why am I not doing VO2? Is it because it might be because the VO2 that I looked at in the past, I think it was device I had, it was really big. I don't want to give any names, right? It was massive. It took up a whole entire table.
This is it, baby. It's it. And then there's a little backpack that comes with it for the moving tests, which we can do on a salt bike, rower, stationary bike, or treadmill.
I love that. I love
those metrics. Also, they measure aerobic capacity, fat burn efficiency while moving, metabolic fitness, again, heart, lungs, cognition in relation to moving, like how is your breathing and is your cognition affected when you move? Do you hyperventilate more? A lot of people hyperventilate more when they're moving. So now you got to give a benefit of the doubt here. If they have a mask on and they don't really like a mask, sometimes anxiety hits and they don't breathe normal. So I'm not so concerned about that number, but I am concerned about the overall outcome of all the metrics. And of course, then we have our let's see, what do they call it? Not posture, stability is the last one. Well, stability is actually the moving word for posture. Like I had a 99% on my running when I did the moving test. I'm going to redo mine next week because I know.
And how often do you recommend people being reassessed, either patients or clients?
I'd say if they're like an athlete, like my son, you could do maybe once a month, probably every other month. But for somebody like me, I'm not an athlete, but I'm not sedentary. I'm probably going every 4 months, every 5 months. So that's what the company recommends. And I think 4 months is going to be perfect for me.
Okay. So we don't expect to see a significant change until four months. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Now, I just remeasured a couple of people because I just got this in June. And we saw, after 4 months, we saw some really nice changes. Because here's what happens, folks. Let's talk about muscle mass now.
Yay.
Okay, because what's going to happen is we've got this data that we can't get any other way. Like there's no other way to figure out the stuff that we can get from this particular device. And this is different than other VO2 max devices. There's some great stuff out there, but usually they stay in one place and you can't move them around because they're too darn big. This one, I've taken it to Mexico with me. I've taken it on my trips and tested people out of town. It's great. So with that said, we get all these different metrics, and we have at the end of the test, we know exactly what these people, including me, need to do. I went through a 3-month lazy period of eating a whole bunch of carbs and not really lifting very much. So my test came out saying lift, lift, lift.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I have exactly 5 pounds more muscle mass now than I did in August. It might be a little more now. I mean, that was 2 weeks ago, and I've been pushing hard, but it doesn't take me long. I know what to do, know how to do it, and I do it. But my body fit went down. My pants are looser. My shirts are tighter. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
anyways, but it feels good too. I
Prove
have more
it.
energy. This muscle mass thing is so cool, and also it told me from the VO2 max and the resting, they both knew I was not eating enough protein. So I
Gotcha.
had to flip flop. I had to go
So
into
the
protein.
technology has the ability to assess macronutrient needs.
Yeah.
It does.
And it gives you a
I gotta
percentage and a calorie intake for non-workout days and workout days.
I gotta
I'll
see
email you some
I gotta
forms.
see the report. I would love that. So because I would love to do that for every new
Oh,
patient that comes into my practice.
I know the owner of the company. I can hook you up.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, dude. And so what's interesting is I know we're a little bit pressed for time now. Um
I'm okay, but
and so we uh, when I was doing research on your site, you have a static contraction machine. And we're talking about increasing bone density and muscle mass now, right?
oh yeah,
Can you
totally.
can you dive into that? I know, that for those of people that don't really understand what static contraction is, I'd love for you to be able to explain what static contraction is, the idea and concept behind that machine that you have. And I don't know if you're familiar with Body by Science or Doug McGuff. Um, those principles and concepts. I'd love to be able to share that with people. And I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's important that people understand that muscle is an endocrine gland and it has to be conditioned as such, right? So
yeah.
I'd love to be able to dive into that.
Okay. So there, I feel that there's value in regular full range of motion lifting, right? Because you do move your body in full range of motion a lot of times, right? You pick up your coffee, you do this, you bend over to pick something up, and you don't just stay static. So, however, this is where we get into the importance of muscle mass and health span, lifespan, longevity, quality of life. There are direct correlations between how much muscle mass we have overall in our body and longevity and quality of life. Longevity and quality of life also correlate highly with various studies. This is like really funny, not funny, but interesting. Muscle mass in your legs, muscle mass in your calves, how much you move. How do you keep moving? Are you moving every day? Are you sedentary? Can you even get, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to anybody who can't, but can you get out of a chair and stand up without assistance? Because if you can't do that, we're beginning a spiral downward, and you better get on it and make it possible, because it's only downhill from there. So I see it every day. We need to get people to be able to get back to the things that are functional movement every day, and it comes with muscle mass. You can have the best numbers in the world, but if you don't have optimal or sufficient muscle mass, everything is compromised. So what is everything? Movement, quality of life, risk of falls goes up. Think about muscles. You got this beef right here, right? This beef, it goes into tendons and cartilage and into the bones, and it attaches on either end. Guess what happens when you contract that baby, especially an isometric static contraction like we have here with the biodensity machine? Shout out to Lee Hillman and Joel Kohler at Biodensity. Unbelievable. Power plate too.
Are those your buddies over there?
Yes,
Can you introduce me to them as well?
absolutely. Today, I'll send them a note today, because
Thank you.
we have the top end power plate here. Also good for a lot of things, bone density and muscle, but other stuff too, waking up the nervous system and the brain and getting
Static
lymphatic stuff
system.
going and
Yeah,
blood
yeah,
flow.
yeah.
Okay, so now we get into this static contraction. Okay. If we have 5 minutes, I can get it all done in 3 to 5 minutes here. So here's the deal. When you contract your muscles, that mechanical action of especially a max osteogenic force load isometric contraction, that mechanical action triggers Peter Attia said this. I'm stealing his words. Thank you, Dr. Attia. stimulates the chemical action of or reaction of estrogen, maybe testosterone, whatever, to build soft trabecular bone tissue. That's what we need. We need to maintain this, because if we had decreased muscle mass, and it happens slowly, okay, it's very slow, but 10 years, 20 years down the road, you can't get out of a chair, or if you do, you more risk of falling. If your muscles are less and your strength is less and you fall down, you're more likely to break a bone, because you might be into osteopenia or porosis. And what happens then? Statistically, what happens is if you break a femur, people age 65 and up, data shows, break a femur or a hip, 1 year later, half of them are deceased, and the other half, most of them aren't back to where they were before they fell. Who wants that? And just the last caveat here is, when you're doing a chest press on biodensity, okay, you're positioned in about this degree of flexion or extension, not here. You're not as strong here as you are here, maybe 120 degrees or so, or 100 whatever degrees, I forget. When you get here and then you push and push and push, you're only moving the thing like a half an inch, but you're not locking out the joint. Other data shows you're 6 to 7 times stronger there than you are in a full range of motion exercise or back here. And guess what that means? That means we have people 80 years old pushing 500 pounds on a chest press who can't do 500 pounds on a chest press full range of motion, but they can do 80 pounds or 70. But guess what happens? 400, 500 pounds or 1,500 pounds on a leg press, whatever it is absolutely the best thing for loading the muscles. Plus, one last thing, isometric contractions, max force load helps dig in and train the type 2 muscle fibers associated with balance. And they're not oxygenated well either. So they're the first to go as we age. That's from Huberman and Atia. But I didn't make any of this stuff up. I'm not smart enough for that. But I listened and I learned. And now, between the VO2 max results and what it says for training zones, between muscle, let's say muscle mass, insufficient muscle mass, we know through VO2 max thing, if we need to build muscle, we hit up the biodensity. We hit it every time you're here.
Nice.
And then we see numbers going up.
How often do you do the biodensity?
Twice a week.
Twice a week. All right. Any benefit of doing less or more?
I don't want to call out names, but there's another company that has almost identical product. They actually lease the technology from biodensity. They say 5 minutes every 10 days. That is not really going to help you too much. No. Twice a week.
Yep.
I don't think 3 times is necessary. I've done it 3 times a week, and I think it's a little too much because I crank on that baby. And even though it only takes 10 minutes to do the thing, I'm doing 3 reps of each thing. It's tiring, and my body needs to recover because it's a different kind of load.
And what's beautiful is, you correct me if I'm wrong, you actually increase muscle mass. So now this is like the increase in bone density, right?
Yeah.
You're muscle mass. Now, it's interesting that you brought that up, because I found that clinically, like I moved away from all the traditional functional movement patterns that I learned from NASM, Gray Cook, which I all love those guys. They were my teachers, to more of the work that you're talking about, static contractions, super slow method, Mike Mentzer's work, BFR, like moving towards, and I'm only doing 3 or 4 movements.
No wonder you look so good.
All my gait and stability patients, all my risk of falls. That's all I'm doing, and they're just getting better. And it's funny that you and I, we haven't spoken in a while, and besides the VO2 max, which I'm going to add to my practice, we came through in the same research.
Yeah.
Not only are you finding it in the research studies, but I mean, we do 500 to 600 visits a week out of here. And so we're seeing significant change with our patients using similar principles and concepts that you're talking about.
You know what? Here we go again. This is simple.
Yeah.
And seriously, there's times we'll only do like 4 things in here in a workout, but that's all they need to do. And they're tired and they've felt, but we're seeing the numbers go up. Because biodensity measures everything, right? So we have every thing on record. We have a graph, a chart. They get an email about it. I have a record of it. We see the numbers going up. We see the strength going up, and my in-body scanner, is pretty good actually. And we can measure muscle mass segmentally, body fat, and all that, visceral fat, every bone mineral density, plus just starting to get into. We've had it long enough to see DEXA scans improve a little, and that's what we want for the osteopenia and porosis. And I mean, this is not rocket science.
No, it's not. And I think as when I was a young clinician, I studied the minutia on everything. And I think we have to go through that phase. We need to study and learn everything, all the ins and outs, to have it come back full circle where a lot of my new grads that come to work here or students, they they want to get to the nitty-gritty, the minutia. Like I forgot most of the minutia stuff because it's just, even with my acupuncture, it's just simple.
Yeah.
Most people just need 5 needles.
Yeah.
Most people just need.
You don't need 30. Come on, man.
Most people just need to intermittent fasting. Walk more, right? It's do some simple strength training. It's
well, just 30 seconds. Let's talk about heart rate zones. Okay, so this is going to tell you through the VO2 max stuff what you need to do in that regard. Okay, so I needed to do a lot more endurance cardio, which is zone 2. You know what gets me there? Walk. 45 minutes or more, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. So, Elizabeth, who works with me here, a lot of times we get done early. We head down to the canal, boom, 2 miles down, 2 miles back. There's my hour.
You're right.
I'm at zone 2, and then zone 5. That's easy.
Those of you that are that want to lose weight, and I'm gonna talk about the women that like I don't want to do my walking because it doesn't burn fat. It's just the opposite. The zone cardio burns fat.
Yeah, it does.
High intensity interval training does not burn fat; it burns sugar. Like they have to understand.
Thank you. Oh my
gosh! They have to understand the energy systems work differently depending on the zones that we're working in, right?
And it's really good to do that interval training. Do the 20, 30, 40 seconds, and then take a minute or 2 off, and then do it again because we want the heart rate to spike and then come down and recover. We want to improve the capability of a higher heart rate, get it higher and feel okay, but have the recovery happen. But that calories burned on zone 2, percentage calories, as you know, it's a higher percentage from fat. Plus, zone 2 is correlated with longevity.
There we go. And how often do you recommend people doing high intensity interval training per week?
Well, it actually depends upon the person. But I'd say no less than once a week. I mean, that's almost like just not even maintenance. Twice a week, 3 times a week. I'm not sure you need to do it any more than that, 2 or 3 times a week. And it could be only 5 minutes of a few intervals. 10 minutes max.
I found that too. Like I found for me personally, once a week of a dedicated high intensity interval day, right?
Yeah, okay, a day. Yeah, that's enough.
And that's enough. And then what I found is before I go into my static contractions or my super slow, whatever I'm doing for that day, I'll just sprint work on a bike, but not a lot of them, maybe 4 to 6 reps of it, give myself complete rest. And just to spike the heart rate and neurological adaptations, right?
Absolutely.
But there's a way to, I think that if they wanted to learn more about what you do, how should they contact you? And do you have seminars? What are you doing now?
Probably the 2 best places to go. First will be my website. So it's Carl with a K, Karl Sterling, Sterling, carlsterling.com. That'll give you it's updated at least once or twice a week. All the newest information, podcasts, there are links to everything we do. That's all on there. There are also I do virtual training. I don't do as much as I used to because we don't, COVID is whatever. I always worked in person all the way through that anyways, but not stopping me. We didn't have to stop, so I didn't stop. Because I'm in a medical building, so I didn't care. But anyways, that aside, go there. The other one is carlsterling.net. And that just goes right to my YouTube podcast playlist where there's, I think, episode 198 went up last night. So you get you on there, Perry's on there. We got some best-selling authors like Dale Bredesen. He's on twice, The End of Alzheimer's Guy. Oh, and keep an eye out, folks, because starting January 21st, I'm going to be the new host of WSYR 570 AM, noon to 1 every Sunday, Your Health Matters radio show here in Syracuse. And that can be streamed online. Just go to iHeartRadio, look up WSYR, Your Health Matters. I'm taking over for Dr. Joe Barry, who's upstairs from me, a great friend who recruited me here. And we work with a lot of the same people. We're going to have a lot of stuff going on there. And I'll have a link on my site to that once that hits. And perhaps, Evan, you'd like to be a guest of mine on the radio show sometime. Okay. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I always love, you're right. We haven't spoken in a while. I feel like we have this kinship. I think because we just love helping people. Right.
Yeah.
And so I love to have my alignment with those that just really care. And your heart is just incredible, brother. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy. And
Thank you,
I'll
man.
send you this
Thank you.
recording so you could reuse it if you want for whatever purpose.
Thanks. But you know, since I seen you, you have a family, you got children. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. Well, you know, I'm gonna get down there one of these days. We'll go hang out, and maybe I'll just shadow you and tap your brain, because every time I see you, I feel like my brain's gonna explode.
Ditto. I feel the same way, brother.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. God bless. And if you need anything, and everybody that's watching this, check out Carl's work. It's phenomenal.
Thank you.
And not just for Parkinson's, right? You work with everybody.
Oh, this is everybody. Can I give one more shameful promotion?
Nope. I mean, yes.
So, yes, this book was my first book, Parkinson's Regeneration Training. Perry wrote the foreword.
Oh,
Dr.
nice.
Perry Nicholson. And if you don't have them, I'm going to send them to you. The second book's Parkinson's Empowerment Training. That's 2 years ago. Third book is in the works, because what I realized after the first two, with help from people like my son, who's I'm bragging, MD, PhD, and you know, Steve Capobianco and a bunch of others, that we do work with all people. It's not just Parkinson's. It's way more than that. In fact, it has to do with all humans, because the third book, called Brain Resilience, is about retraining the brain throughout the lifespan and what we do, because there's so much that can be done to retrain the brain, live a better quality of life, cognitively and memory-wise, as well as movement. So that's a year away though, man, because that's a beast of a book to write. But
let me know when you have courses set up, and
yeah,
we'll host a seminar down here.
Oh, you know what? I'd love to do that down there. Thank you, man. I'd love to do that. We haven't done a live workshop in the States in a while. Outside the country, we usually sell out. The States are a little different. I don't know why. But you know what? Your place is beautiful too. So you're still in the same location?
Same location. So, you know, maybe a hook up with Perry, and Perry can promote it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because
I'll tell you what, yeah, maybe we have a summit or something. You, me, him. But anyways,
well, that's an interesting concept.
I'll get the books to you. People, keep an eye out on the live workshops, the events page on my website. And we are also going to be launching an online education platform for really cheap per month. Like, it's safe to just say no more than $15 a month. It won't be any more than that. But that's a good 6 weeks away. But we're always trying to do stuff to bring more information to people. And I'm just a guy. I learn from people like you, and then I try it. I do my thing, and I just deliver it. And you've helped me a lot, brother. Thanks.
I love you, man. And
you too.
I'll speak to you soon. If I don't speak to you, happy holidays. All right.
You too. Thank you very much.
Okay,
see you later, buddy. Bye-bye.